right now. Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite in Anarchy in the Arena. Anarchy in the Arena was one of my top 5 favorite matches last year. It was everything I love about pro wrestling. No, not top 5. It was in my top 10. Sorry. It's everything I love about pro wrestling.
Don't get carried away.
No, I got to pump the brakes. But I did love it. I love the chaos. And if this becomes, AEW has tried to reclaim a lot of stipulations, or the strap match, for instance, right? Which I think they've done a fantastic job at reviving it and giving it the feel that it's like when they pull out strap match in AEW, you sort of go, like back in the day when they'd pull out, back in the 90s when they'd pull out ladder match, you'd go, it's kind of the same thing. They've done it with that. I'd even say they brought the cage match back.
Yeah, they make the cage match feel important.
But bringing back these old school, these existing stipulations. Anarchy in the Arena since last year, right? Because of its rousing success, feels like it's AEW's first homegrown stipulation, right? Where it's like, oh, now this belongs to AEW. The level of and ultimately it's just like it's a no DQ, false count anywhere kind of nonsense, right? Like ultimately it's just a fancy name for a very basic stip, but the fact that they've created something around it makes it feel special. You said Anarchy in the Arena, that's cool. If they had said false count anywhere, no DQ, you would have been like, oh, you know what I mean? Like the fact that we have the branding of Anarchy in the Arena feels off of what happened last year. I'm naturally excited because the match last year was so great and it feels like it belongs to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I think totally doing this, like they did the Stadium Stampede matches, which people are mixed on, but they kind of existed in a time and place, which is when they were in Daly's place and didn't have fans, at least for the first one. Second one, they actually did have fans, but and that kind of became a traditional thing. But you really don't want to do that. You don't really want to do that in an arena full of people, right? No. So let's do a little spin on it. Let's do Anarchy in the Arena, which you can do, which they did last year. And we talked about WWE has the Royal Rumble, and Money in the Bank, and those kind of help sell an idea pay-per-view. It's possible that Anarchy in the Arena as a traditional match on Double or Nothing, people are going to get really excited for.
Sure.
The first one delivered, super well. This one, I don't know. Do they still allow you to gamble on what Dave Meltzer's star rating is going to be, like an over/under? Do you remember those? Dave hasn't talked about them in a little while, but it would be like the over/under for this match's star rating from Dave is 4.5. Look, I would imagine that this one is up there as far as what the floor is for this match. It's very high.
There's a lot of Dave's favorite wrestlers in this match, right? I think over under 4.5 is fair. Yes. Yeah.
Especially if they get
but
it's got so much, this match. And one of the reasons I think that people are down on the rest of this card outside this match is a lot of the star power is in this match.
Sure.
The people that the fans like the most, the Young Bucks, Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson. Match, you could argue that this feud is this is not a story on the match, and all of those names are dispersed elsewhere in the card in other feuds. Maybe some of them are wrestling each other, maybe some of them are wrestling other people. A lot of people would probably say the pay-per-view card would be much better off if that was the case.
Maybe.
With that being said, there's so much star power and energy in this match, and there's this story that they've been telling with the Elite getting back together. Don Callis turning on Kenny Omega. I wouldn't surprise me if this becomes a 5-on-5 match. Because the last Anarchy in the Arena, I believe, was 5-on-5.
Right.
So, and there's really no reason why you could do it 4-on-4, you could do 5-on-5, you could do 6-on-6, you could do 10-on-10 if you really wanted to. I don't think there's a hard limit on how many people can be in this match, but
yeah,
it wouldn't surprise.
It was a 5-on-5, and Don's been grooming our our poor Konosuke in the meantime, right? He's been grooming him into so yeah, there's a lot of stuff that can happen for real.
Yeah. So, but there's a lot of going into this. So I think, this is the real main event for, I think, a lot of people.
Yeah, well, it is for me. And I mean, look, I contend that the Blackpool Combat Club has been systematically the best thing in AEW since Danielson and Mox started feuding with each other in January last year. It feels so long ago. But it's been systematically the best thing in the company. It's been delivering and over-delivering, up and down. And everything go ahead.
Is it weird that they're still called the Blackpool Combat Club?
No.
The Regal thing kind of bothers me. Like, Regal gets elevated into this really prominent position within the company where he's on TV all the time. He's cutting promos. He's on commentary. He's created this stable that's revolved around like his ideology. He's got the top stars with him. Then he just leaves, and they kind of they write him off TV kind of hastily, and then they just kind of keep him keep his aesthetic, I guess. It doesn't really bother me like really any significant amount.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was kind of really weird, and
I see what you mean.
It's still like his presence is still kind of like this weird like significant factor in AEW, even though he basically jumped at the first opportunity for him to not work with
to go back to
WWE.
Yeah.
To go back to WWE.
But I don't hate it because the other guys would have erased them from history, and I think that would be worse.
Yeah.
If it's suddenly no longer the Blackpool Combat Club, it's now the Cincinnati Boroughs Combat Club. It's like
the Aberdeen, Washington.
Yeah.
Combat Club.
Yeah, exactly. The Aberdeen Aces or whatever. It's like, oh, come on. Now this is just erasure. And as Joe often points out on the flagship, the lore of AEW is the lore of wrestling. So, I mean, it will always be a nod to William Regal on that front. Outside of being excited and thinking this build has been very, very good, do you have any other notes, or should we just go to our predictions for this one?
No, and I have no idea who's going to win this match.
Me neither.
I'm going to say the Elite because they're the team that just kind of got back together, and I think that it's worth trying to show some continuity with, like, they got back together and now they're this unstoppable force and they beat Blackpool Combat Club. But this is maybe not the blow off for their match. Blood and Guts, they haven't announced Blood and Guts or anything like that, but Blood and Guts tends to happen around this time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be looking at the AEW roster and what feuds are going on and what makes sense for a Blood and Guts match, and it would seem to be this one. So I think maybe BCC could win, and then the Elite get their win back in Blood and Guts, or you could do it vice versa. But I don't even know who like the betting favorite would be, because I think there's explanations for both of these teams.
Yeah, I think there's something very satisfying in saying, look, the Elite are all back together, and they should get the big babyface hurrah win. Paige and Omega reconcile officially in the ring. They hug, they do something, because there wasn't like any shows of affection at that, during the promo on last Wednesday's Dynamite. So and of course that'd be a feel good moment. Which is something this company kind of needs too. It's just like to focus on something else to get the fan base talking about other things. But I love this idea of the Blackpool Combat Club being this shadow group of thugs just hanging out backstage, just around corners and whatnot, and just ready to strike at any given moment. They're just like, oh, you're cutting a promo, wham! We're just just out of nowhere. So I like the idea of them continuing that level of brutality, just continuing to be this really dominant, unstoppable force of violent, fight-hungry dudes. which I'm really into as well. But you know, if again, gun to the head, I go with the Elite, I guess. But there's a case for both.
How awesome was it when I loved the segment on Wednesday's Dynamite where the Young Bucks like throw their suitcases at the Blackpool Combat Club, and the Blackpool Combat Club just beats the shit out of them, and Claudio presses like Nick Jackson and throws him onto the windshield of a car. It was awesome.
It was fantastic.
And that's a tease. That's a tease for what we're going to see at Anarchy.
Exactly.